What exactly is the function of a rubber duck? Hey, it's Amy and welcome back to my channel. Today, Harry Potter nerds everywhere are celebrating Harry Potter's 37th birthday and JK Rowling's actual real-life birthday. Because of that, and because I'm such a massive Harry Potter nerd, I thought I would rank every single Harry Potter movie in order of my personal favorite. Harry Potter has been a part of my life for almost 20 years. And it sounds kind of sad when I say it out loud, but it was a way for me to feel like I had friends when I didn't really have very many. And I'm like stupidly obsessed with it. I have way too much merch. I've been to the parks so many times, it's stupid. And I even have a Deathly Hallows tattoo that I got 6 years ago today. Freeform's Harry Potter Weekend's actually muted on my TV right now and probably will be on my TV while I'm editing this. Ranking the Harry Potter movies to me is like picking a favorite child. I love them all so much for so many different reasons. So this is probably a list more of which order I would watch them in if I was given the choice, besides watching them in order, because that's really the only way to watch them. Number 8, Chamber of Secrets. Chamber of Secrets is usually on the bottom of everyone's list, books and movie-wise, because it kind of feels like a filler story. Nothing much really happens besides the fact that you kind of get a little bit of Voldemort's backstory, and you learn that Harry talks to snakes, which he does in the first movie at the zoo, but you don't really know or understand what Parseltongue is until we get to the second one anyways. Chris Columbus directed the first 2 Harry Potter films, and he's known for working well with child actors like he did in Home Alone, but his directing style in the first 2 films gave it a very childish feel, which works for the first 2 films because the actors and characters are supposed to be 11 and 12, but probably wouldn't have carried over once the storylines got darker and the characters got older. Chamber of Secrets is probably the darker themed of the 2 Chris Columbus directed Harry Potter films, and I don't feel like he hits the mark as well as he could have, or another director could have, if they had wanted to make it darker. There were some funny parts in it, but a lot of the humor in this film was, again, a very childish humor. It just makes everything feel more childish, even though the characters and actors are maturing. And I mean, Daniel and Rupert's voices changed dramatically from the first and second films. There were some really great parts in this too, though. It's the introduction of Dobby, one of my favorite characters of all time. Mr. Weasley has probably one of my favorite lines in the entire movie.
Now, Harry, you must know all about muggles. Tell me, what exactly is the function of a rubber duck?
Oh.
And Kenneth Branagh as Professor Gilderoy Lockhart is hilarious. I could not have pictured anyone better to play this character. Number 7, The Goblet of Fire. This one is a lot more serious and really piggybacks off of how dark The Prisoner of Azkaban is and how dark the stories will be getting in the future. And the Triwizard Tournament really pushes us forward with symbolizing how darkness and danger are coming ever closer to the wizarding world. And the tasks get more and more dangerous as Harry and the other champions move along, until it culminates with Harry finally coming face to face with the wizarding world's greatest enemy and watching him come back to life. Cedric's death is just a foreshadowing of the many deaths that will come under Voldemort's rule. On a somewhat lighter note though, this is the movie where romantic interests really start to play a part. They don't really necessarily form, but you can sense the tension between some of the characters like Ron and Hermione and how their relationship will progress in the future. Number 6, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. This one holds a dear place in my heart because it's the last one, but I have it so low on the list because I know if I pull it out and start watching it, I probably will cry the entire 2.5 hours of this movie. I mean, I even cried while watching Neville's speech while taking notes for this. And everyone's probably heard this theory, even though it's not really a theory, it's just something that someone noticed on the internet. Someone pointed out that while Harry, Ron, and Hermione are crossing the battle to find Snape and Voldemort in the boathouse, they come across some familiar monsters that they battled in the past, and they encounter them in order that they appear. Trolls, then giant spiders, then werewolves, and then dementors. And they are fighting them all off with ease, showing just how much they've grown in the past 7 years. One thing that really kind of bothers me between the 2 Deathly Hallows movies is the fact that Harry senses the Horcruxes nearby. I feel like that's kind of a cop-out, and this stems from the fact that they didn't use a lot of Voldemort's backstory while he was collecting the Horcruxes in the 6th movie, which I'll talk about when I get there. Another thing that people point out on the internet is that Lily and Snape's last words in the movies are always, which they actually are not. Lily's last word is always,
Stay close to me.
Always.
But Snape's is not. It's his second to last phrase. Snape's real last words are after he says always, when he's discussing the fact that Voldemort is the one that has to kill Harry with Dumbledore.
Always. So when the time comes, the boy must die.
Yes. He must die. And Voldemort himself must do it. That is essential.
The King's Cross chapter in the book was probably one of my favorite chapters in the entire series. even though I did have to read it a couple times to really get it at first. And it's one of the very few scenes in the movies that's actually as I had pictured it while reading it in the book for the first time. Neville gets a super badass scene, proving that he could have been the chosen one if Voldemort had just taken the prophecy in a different direction. And I can't not mention the best part of this movie, the laugh and awkward hug with Draco. It's probably my favorite thing in the world, and that laugh is my voicemail ringtone. It really bothers me that Harry doesn't fix his original wand with the Elder Wand and then put the Elder Wand behind Dumbledore's portrait in the headmaster's office, but instead he just breaks it and throws it over the bridge. I feel like that's kind of just a boring ending, and it really just frustrated me, the fact that he just breaks it and throws it away. Like, yeah, now nobody's going to be able to use it, but they still couldn't use it when it was behind Dumbledore's portrait. This one really bothers me. Number 5, the HalfBlood Prince. This one is probably one of the funnier ones in the series, with Rupert really being able to show how great of a comedic actor he actually is. My favorite scenes include Ron walking through the Great Hall wearing his Quidditch uniform for the first time, and when he's on the love potion. I also love when Harry and Cormac are hiding behind the curtains after Hermione runs off, and Cormac throws up on Professor Snape. And everyone's favorite scene, the Felix Felicis scene, where Harry just goes and does whatever he wants. And Dan plays this scene so hilarious. And this is also the movie where the romantic relationships really start to form, showing how much Ron and Hermione actually care for each other, but they don't really realize it until Ron is in a relationship with Lavender. This movie also really shows a different side to Draco than you've seen in any other one. He's still a young boy. I mean, he's only 16, and he's been given a job that he doesn't really know how to do and probably couldn't complete in the first place. But I really like the fact that the movie showed Draco's side of things instead of just telling like most movies would. This is when we really get into finding out how Harry is going to end up defeating Voldemort. And I know they didn't have time. It would have been really nice for them to show some backstory on how and why Voldemort chose some of the Horcruxes, like with the Gaunts, or when he goes and meets Hepzibah Smith. And Harry loses yet another vital father figure that he really knows nothing about, which really sets him on a quest to learn more about Dumbledore, but you only really get that in the books and not the movie. Number 4, the Deathly Hallows Part 1. In the beginning, with Rufus Grimjoy's announcement, you really do see that the last vestiges of the Ministry under Fudge's reign are kind of falling away, and they're really building up trying to fight Voldemort. This one is a little bit higher up, mostly because I really love that Polyjuice scene at the beginning before they transport Harry from Privet Drive to the Burrow. It's just a beautiful work of editing and effects that my little editor heart was so happy seeing that. Something that was always kind of lost on me was how Harry got that shard of mirror. In the books, you know that Sirius gives it to him before he dies in the 5th book, but in the movies, you don't really know. Harry just suddenly has this mirror, and Aberforth has the other parts of it that Dumbledore gave to him. But how did Dumbledore get it? Did Dumbledore give Harry the mirror in the first place? Did Sirius give the mirror to Harry and then to Dumbledore in scenes that weren't shot? Who knows? The movie gives power to the locket a lot more so than you get in the books. I think this is mostly though because Rupert is such a great actor and he can really show how much the locket is affecting him and how it built up to his fight with Voldemort's memory inside the locket later. And I really love that snatcher scene with Hermione because it shows how really close they are to danger no matter where they are. It would have been nice to kind of bring in the fact that Harry is related to the Peverell brothers, but I feel like that just would have been a little too much information to squeeze into one movie, which is already pretty full of information. Number 3, the Sorcerer's Stone. This one is a classic that couldn't not be in my top 3. I could be happy, I could be sad, it doesn't really matter. This is just my go-to comfort movie when I just feel like lounging around. It's a perfect introduction to the wizarding world as we know it today, familiarizing audiences with characters, locations, and other things that they will come to know and love for 10 and more years to come. It also shows how great the trio of actors, Dan, Rupert, and Emma, are, even at such a young age. They were only like 10 and 11, maybe 12 when this was filmed. Even the secondary cast of characters is really great, like Matthew Lewis as Neville or Tom Felton as Draco Malfoy. And I mentioned when I was talking about the Chamber of Secrets that Chris Columbus directed the first 2 films, and they were kind of childish, but I think it really works for the first one because the actors and characters are only 10 years old, and a lot of the audience is the same age when they were first getting into watching this movie. I mean, I was 11 years old when this movie first came out, and I really grew up with the actors and characters as well. Number 2, Order of the Phoenix. This might be unpopular placement for the Order of the Phoenix, but I really love this one, but I just really love the juxtaposition of the darkness and Umbridge's power over Hogwarts next to the Weasley twins' shenanigans. The same way I really love the juxtaposition of Umbridge's looks and demeanor next to her agenda for the school. And even though a lot of people do die in the last couple films, this one is probably also the saddest of all of them, because Harry loses the father figure he has been searching his whole life for in Sirius, and with that he loses the future he ever wished he could have had. This movie is also a really great commentary on the political climate in the US right now, even though the book is 14 years old and the movie is 10 years old this year. The government doesn't really care or is blind to it, and is covering up things that they've been doing wrong and hoping that nobody notices, which everyone always notices. But Dumbledore's army is there to really rally together students and put up a fight against the establishment. I mean, the battle in the Hall of Prophecies in the Department of Mysteries is so cool, and the fight between Dumbledore and Voldemort in the lobby of the Ministry of Magic is probably one of the coolest fight scenes in any one of these movies. And this is the movie where Harry really starts to learn about his connection with Voldemort and tries to fight it even though it doesn't really work. And most importantly in this movie, we get Luna Lovegood, the greatest character to ever grace the Harry Potter screen. She's one of my personal favorite characters, mostly because she really does not care what people think. Even if they call her Loony Lovegood, call her crazy, they don't believe in anything she says, she still sticks to what she believes in and is super confident in every single way. And last but certainly not least, number 1, The Prisoner of Azkaban. This one is usually everyone's favorite movie and book. This one was also the darkest one so far after Chris Columbus's first two. It's a really dark coming-of-age story directed by Alfonso Cuarón, and he was the perfect director for this because a couple of years later he goes on to direct Children of Men, which is a really dark post-apocalyptic story where people can't have children. And before this he directed one of his more famous movies, Y Tu Mama Tambien, which is a Mexican coming-of-age story where two teenage boys take a road trip with an older woman. I really consider this one more of a coming-of-age story than the ones that follow, because it's really all about Harry learning about his past, the possibility of his future, and it really taps into his emotions, which are symbolized very nicely by the Dementors, and the changes he and his friends are going to, symbolized by Lupin changing into a werewolf. Also shows how really great of actors that Dan, Rupert, and Emma had become, even though this was only their third movie. And everyone's probably heard the story of how Alfonso Cuarón had the trio write essays about their characters, and the only one who really turned theirs in was Emma, like Hermione would. Even though the exercise probably didn't pan out the way Cuarón had planned, I really think it helped improve their relationship with their characters as their acting had evolved from the first two films as well. It really gives a glimpse into the Marauders and how much their dynamic is so much like the trios. They're always there for each other, no matter what. And finally, it introduced two of my favorite characters besides Luna and Dobby, Sirius Black and Remus Lupin, two father figures that Harry desperately needed. But that's just my list. I want to know what yours is down below. What's your favorite or least favorite Harry Potter movie and why? Are you even a big fan of Harry Potter? Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you, whoever you are. Leave a comment in the comments down below telling me who you are, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like down below and subscribe if you're new, because I post new videos every Tuesday, usually on movies, books, other nerdy stuff, Harry Potter related sometimes, pretty much whatever I feel like. And every other Sunday I post a video checking off one of the movies on the 1001 movies you must watch before you die list. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!